Welcome to another gentle journey through the stories struck into old metal. Today we're stepping into the world of British pre-decimal currency with a charming relic from the mid-20th century. The UK 1 shilling coin from 1955, shown here in its warm, fully circulated condition. This is a coin that once clinked through pockets during an era of post-war rebuilding, quiet optimism, and steady change across the United Kingdom. The 1 shilling was a key part of Britain's currency system before decimalisation in 1971. Worth 12 old pennies or 1/20th of a pound, it was a familiar companion for everyday purchases. But the 1955 version carries more than monetary weight. It carries history, design tradition, and the fingerprints of a country finding its stride after a difficult decade. The obverse side of the 1955 shilling presents the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, newly crowned only a few years earlier. Sculpted by Mary Gillick, her portrait captures a natural, unadorned grace, free from heavy symbolic decoration. Even in circulated condition, her features retain a quiet strength, though softened by time and touch. In well-used examples, the raised details of her hair and the wreath she wears often appear gently smoothed. The once sharp lines around her cheek and temple melt into the surrounding surface. The inscription, Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina, circles her profile, though in circulated coins the lettering sometimes shows light flattening along the tops of the letters. Turning the coin over reveals the reverse design, which differs depending on the region it represents. The 1955 1 shilling came in two versions, one for England bearing 3 lions, and one for Scotland featuring a bold lion rampant. Both designs are crowned, both are heraldic, and both celebrate the unity of the realm. In circulated condition, the intricate shields and patterns may show relaxed edges, yet the symbols remain proud and recognizable. The coin is struck primarily from cupronickel, giving it a silver-gray tone when new. But after decades of use, exposure, and storage, a circulated shilling often shifts into a softer palette. Smoky grays, cloudy silvers, and faint charcoal shadows sinking into the recesses of the design. Some pieces pick up light warm tones from oxidation, giving them a gentle, antique glow. Every scratch and scuff on a circulated 1955 shilling is a mark of life lived. These coins passed through countless hands during the 1950s and 60s, buying groceries, cinema tickets, cups of tea, and newspaper copies filled with stories of a new Elizabethan era. Each tiny mark is a footprint of its journey. Close inspection reveals the rim of the coin, worn in a way only honest circulation can achieve. The edges once carried a crisp border, but decades of pockets, purses, and tills leave them rounded and softened. The feel of a circulated shilling is unmistakable, smooth, dependable, and quietly aged. The mid-1950s were years of recovery and progress for Britain. The war had ended a decade earlier, rationing was drawing to a close, and modern life was beginning to take shape. This shilling circulated at a time of new appliances, growing cities, and shifting cultural landscapes. It sat in pockets during the birth of rock and roll, the expansion of television, and the early stirrings of what would later be called swinging London. Even though 1955 shillings are not rare, they are adored by collectors for their charm and for the early portrait of Elizabeth II. Coins from this period feel like introductions, the first chapter of a reign that would go on to become one of the longest in history. Many circulated examples show subtle toning around the shield on the reverse, particularly in the recessed lines that once held crisp heraldic detail. As the coin's metal reacts to the environment over decades, these grooves catch shadows and color, almost like old paper gathering sepia at its edges. If you angle the coin under a soft light, you might see faint hints of the original luster hiding inside the deeper portions of the design. These surviving glimmers are like echoes of the day the coin left the mint, bright and ready for the world it was about to enter. The weight of the coin, just over 5.5 grams, feels small but sturdy. A circulated shilling carries a strange blend of simplicity and dignity, as though it remembers the roles it once played in the everyday life of millions. Collectors often appreciate circulated shillings for their honest appearance. Unlike polished or overcleaned coins that lose character, a naturally aged piece keeps its history intact. The toning, the wear, the softened portrait, the faint details on the reverse all create a coin with personality rather than perfection. The beauty of the 1955 shilling lies in how familiar it once was. It was an everyday object, not a rarity tucked away in a cabinet or vault. It lived life out in the open. And now, decades later, these well-traveled coins carry a kind of quiet nostalgia, a window into the rhythms of mid-century Britain. Even after decimalization, many people kept their old shillings tucked in drawers or tins. Some were saved as keepsakes, others simply forgotten. Picking one up today feels like discovering a small message from the past, still intact, still clear, and still telling its story. As we take one more lingering look at the UK 1 shilling from 1955, its circulated condition becomes less of a flaw and more of a biography. Every faded line and softened curve is a chapter of its journey. Coins like this remind us that everyday objects are often the best storytellers of all.